Like, for him to say that he earned the rose is kind of completely sidestepping her consent.
If your feelings are contingent on them showering you with adoration, then that's not love.
Hi, we're Julie and Kelly, and we're here to find love. We are two dating coaches analyzing relationship and psychology themes in The Bachelorette, Season 19, Episode 6 of Rachel and Gabby's season. If you're new here, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell for notifications to stay in touch with our videos. We do this every single week, so join in.
Okay, so the episode started off our little Bachelorette cruise. Pulls up in Amsterdam. That's where their kind of one-on-one dates are going to be happening this week. Gabby chooses Nate for her one-on-one. Rachel chooses Zach for her one-on-one. However, the Nate one-on-one date ends up actually just being a breakup date.
We're just in two different places in our life.
Super heartbreaking. Didn't expect the episode to start off like that.
Yeah.
It was just like a few minutes in, they're just crying on a bench.
I know!
It was just like, I walked away for a minute to get water and I came back and I missed a lot. I was like, what is going on? It felt like a very realistic heartbreak, and you could see how much Gabby so liked Nate, but she was so not ready to take the commitment to be a mother.
I'm like terrified of not just like being a mom, but being like bad at it.
And I really am so proud of her for choosing not to enter the relationship, knowing that she's not ready for it, because she's still healing from all of this conditional and painful experiences that she's had with her own mother. With me personally, I'm dating someone that is a dad, and this is the first time I've ever dated someone that has had such a huge commitment in their life, and I really had to consider it deeply before I got into that relationship, because it's not just me. It's also the fact that he has little ones that are being affected by the energy of the dynamic. So choosing him was like me having to choose a version of myself that had to bring a higher consciousness to the table, because we're not just the only ones being affected. It's also like a whole family system that's being involved with like the way that I interact with their father. And I think Gabby was really aware of that, and she just wasn't ready to enter this like maternal relationship because she's so wounded about her mother. Like, anytime she brings it up, she starts crying right away. It's such a sign that it's still so like raw and close to her heart, and she hasn't really processed it yet, that it wouldn't be fair for her to like be with Nate, have his daughter in her life, and not be able to handle that in the best way that she could. So I thought it was amazing. It was a huge demonstration of maturity. I really appreciated her doing that, because I think that he was a huge front runner, maybe like top 2 material.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. She seemed to be really devastated by having to break up with him.
It's just so hard because it's you.
She didn't want to, I could tell.
Yeah, I don't think she really wanted to. I actually kind of like, I was getting emotional watching this breakup, because it really did feel like star-crossed lovers type of vibe of like, they both just like loved each other and had these strong feelings for each other and did want to like continue pursuing things. But Gabby, to your point, made this really mature decision of just recognizing like, hey, I might really, really have this strong connection to you, but that doesn't change the fact that I'm not ready to be a mother. Like, no matter how much I love you, like, that isn't an indicator of how ready I am to, raise another human being or be in that role for another human being. And so, yeah, it was like pretty, I mean, it felt very Romeo and Juliet to me. Like, I was so sad watching them break up, because it wasn't like they were breaking up because feelings weren't there or whatever, you know what I mean? It was like a block that wasn't Nate's fault and it wasn't Gabby's fault, but there's just nothing that they could really do about it.
That phrase, love is all you need, it's really not all you need in relationships. If it was, then they would have stayed together. It's the fact that Gabby was able to really recognize on her side, to your point, she just is not ready. She just has so much healing to do that it's not fair to do all of that in a relationship where his little girl doesn't really need that energy. Like, she really needs people that could be like really good caregivers to her, to really focus their attention on her and not have it bring up all of the stuff that's really not this child's like problem to co-manage. And I think Gabby having the self-awareness to step away from the situation shows like she will be a really great mother someday if that's the path that she does decide. Because this was just kind of the first thing of like, this is healing. It doesn't feel like it, but this is healing. Like, she is making some big strides towards, like, this mother wound that she has.
Definitely. I mean, I was just thinking about that. The truth is, Gabby clearly would make a wonderful mother. Like, you can tell by, like, I mean, she made this really heartbreaking decision that she didn't even want to make for that kid, right? At the end of the day, the decision was for that child. It wasn't for her. It wasn't for Nate. It was for that kid. So, honestly, like, this was more evidence that she actually is going to be a wonderful parent one day. You know, whether or not she's ready for it personally and emotionally is a different question. But, like, I don't think, she keeps saying she's worried about being a bad mother. And I'm like, I don't really think you're going to have that problem, girl. Like,
but, like, as soon as the conversation started going on, I was just really celebrating Nate's maturity and being like, I really want someone that chooses you back.
Make sure you choose somebody who picks you, okay? And I know you will.
Like, amazing, beautiful, just chef's kiss of, like, a breakup response to say in that moment.
Totally. It's a really great example of a beautiful, generous, caring breakup, right? Both of them were really, really, like, not trying to, like, take jabs at each other or hurt each other. No one, like, reacted or got, like, angry. Everyone was just like, yeah, this really sucks, but also, like, I still care about you and I want the best for you, right?
The fact that you even think that you have to feel sorry about being like this, it's I would never be upset at you for being truthful, so.
Gabby even said this. She was like, the way Nate handled that breakup made me like him even more and have even stronger feelings for him. And I agree. I was impressed by the way Nate handled that breakup. You know, he didn't even try to, like, quote unquote, like, fight for her. He didn't try to, like, push her, like, no, like, stay with me, meh. Like, he didn't try to do anything. He just respected her decision, respected that boundary, and just, like, gave her, you know, a lot of love and validation on her way out, which I think is beautiful. It's the way to do it. So next we got Zach and Rachel's second one-on-one date. He was, I think, her first one-on-one way back on week 2. So this is a pretty big deal. It's always a big deal to get a second one-on-one date. And so Zach seemed really happy about it. And to be honest, I actually felt like I was really coming around on Zach on this date.
He's winning you over.
I think he's winning me over a little bit. I mean, he was just, I felt like he was such a nothing burger to me this whole time. The first date, I was like, yeah, this is cute. They connected over the planes thing, the thing with the airplanes and watching planes with their dad. So I thought it was all very sweet, but I don't know. I just wasn't very convinced. But on this date, I feel like they had a really good vibe. I feel like their personalities are very, like, similar in a certain way. Like, they have a very similar energy. They're both very upbeat and they laugh a lot and they kind of have the same amount of emotional depth. On this date, I kind of, he rose the ranks for me in terms of the guys that I would want Rachel to end up with. I think he might be my top contender. We'll get into talking about the top 3 and top 4 for each woman, but for me, I think I've moved on to Team Zach. What do you think?
Ooh, I kind of feel the same way. I've always really liked Zach. I thought that he was a great guy. I mean, out of all of the men there, it's not like any of them were really sticking out for me. So Zach was definitely emerging from the mediocrity. But I think that it is evidence that Rachel's season is starting to warm up a lot. Like, all of her guys there really do seem like they like her. She's getting more of a Bachelorette edit, less insecurities, more of these men, you know, clamoring for her attention, giving her the validation that she is looking for. So that is quite nice to see. And Zach just happens to be a part of that, like, vibe shift for me. But yeah, like, out of all of these guys, it's like, okay, they all really like her. And I do like seeing that.
Yeah, this was kind of like the start of a really good, really positive week for her, which was really nice. Exactly. I was happy to see it. I feel like she needed a good week. Like, I think this was finally the good week that she
needed it.
This was the week she was waiting for, and I feel like she finally got it. Yeah. So yeah, I was into it. Zach also, like, opened up about, like, therapy during the evening portion of their date, which always great. Like, we love a guy who goes to therapy and is willing to talk about it. So yeah, I just got all good vibes from him, all good vibes from their connection. I'm pro. So then we get into Gabby's group date. So Gabby's group date ends up being this kind of dominatrix kink exploration type situation. So there's a dominatrix who basically takes these boys and kind of makes them do various little kinky acts to Gabby, or makes them like talk about their sexual interests and preferences. It was the kind of date that had the kind of veneer of being sex positive, or it felt like it was like, look, see, we here at Bachelor Nation, we talk about sex, we're cool, but it actually didn't feel very sex positive when you actually saw like how the date was organized and how everyone was talking about it. It gave me a little bit of a vibe of like, LOL, look at how weird these like kinky people are. Kinks are so weird, whips are so weird, it's so weird to be into this. Like that was kind of, it felt more stigmatizing to me than it did normalizing, you know? It didn't feel like it was necessarily like empowering people to pursue their, you know, sexual interests. It really felt like, haha, we're making all these guys do these like weird sex things. Like that's what it felt like to me. So like this is the kind of like sex positive type display that I feel like it's more in name than in practice. Like they don't do it in a way that's actually, you know, normalizing and that actually, you know, supports, you know, sexual exploration in a, you know, healthy and feel good way. All of those guys looked so uncomfortable too. They were kind of thrown into this situation. To me, it was pretty consensually gray. Like they didn't really have an opportunity to opt in or opt out of it. You know, I work as a sex educator. I just finished teaching like a long sex ed class this summer. And, you know, one of the things we say about consent is if you're in a situation where it's hard to say no, then consent really can't be given. And that's kind of what I was thinking about for these guys. They were kind of in this situation where it was hard for them to say no, I don't want to participate in this. No, I don't want to be broadcasted on national television, you know, while talking about the things that I'm interested in. There was not really an easy way for them to say no without looking like a wimp or without like kind of losing out on time with Gabby. So their ability to say no to the situation seemed, you know, not present. And therefore I found it to be a little bit, I don't know, like boundary crossing to me.
Yeah, it wasn't mutually participatory on their parts. And I think that like the whole vibe of the dominatrix asking them questions and then like saying, I'm gonna whip you if you don't answer the question properly, and like they didn't, the safe words they came up with weren't safe words that, like these safe words are when you're escalating physical intimacy and you don't feel very comfortable, you say it and it stops. That wasn't really what was demonstrated last night on TV. It was like, still answer these questions. We want to tease it out of you. How many sexual partners have you had? Do you like giving oral sex? Do you like doing this? Do you like doing that? That's very inappropriate to have on a soundstage with like so many people recording you, of all of these men with the women that you're interested in, and this person that's like getting these answers out of you. It felt like a little bit disappointing to see Gabby being like really, I don't know, she had a lot of fun in it, and she was very much congratulating Johnny for going along with it, but I don't think that should have been a measure of like compatibility or a measure of this is like a great guy for me because he can be very chill and go with it.
I completely agree. It was kind of weird that, you know, Johnny clearly is just comfortable with his sexuality, which is great, but people who are uncomfortable with like publicly talking about their sex life, that doesn't make them bad people or bad partners, exactly. You know? Like, it's okay if they don't want to publicly talk about their sex lives. I thought it was pretty strange. Yeah, the safe words thing, I thought was like, they were kind of like almost making fun of the concept of safe words as opposed to like actually, you know.
I didn't like that.
Yeah, it was just very strange. Like, safe words are a really important part of, I mean, any sexual act, but definitely sexual acts that involve like kink. And like, the funny thing is, the safe words are supposed to help you opt out of situations. But again, this was like a situation where they were not really able to opt out of the situation that they were in. They were kind of forced to be there. And so, yeah, it was a pretty feel bad situation to me. I just didn't really like it. I mean, Jason, he kept saying, he's like, this is like my nightmare. This is really uncomfortable. Like, and I was like, get that guy out of here. Why are you guys forcing these guys to do these weird sexual acts?
It reminds me so much of Clayton's season when they just forced group therapy onto all of the girls. And
yeah.
Do you remember? They were just invited on the date, and it's like, okay, now you're going to go to a room and talk about your relationship trauma with Clayton. And then Genevieve went with Clayton, and he broke up with her after that episode. And she said it was her fear to like do therapy with him, share her feelings of abandonment, and for that very thing to happen. So this felt like another repeat of The Bachelor. trying to be cool and contemporary and hang up the current themes, but not even doing it in a way that's consensual, safe, and like creating an environment for these contestants to like truly and genuinely opt into it.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll leave the link to that couples therapy episode. We had a whole like special video that we dedicated to talking about.
Yeah.
We were so upset about it. So we'll leave the link to that up above and down below. By the way, if you've watched to this point in the video and you are not subscribed yet, hit that subscribe button. We do this every week. We are all about posting Bachelorette recaps. We recap every single episode of every single season of every single show under Bachelor Nation.
We're maniacs, yeah. We torture ourselves, so watch every week for that.
Come join us. Watch us as we put ourselves through this. Anyways, that was the day portion of Gabby's group date. The evening portion actually ends up getting canceled because Logan, our villain from last episode, which we clearly had so many thoughts about Logan, we'll leave the link to that video up above and down below. But Logan ends up getting COVID and he is booted off the show, which is pretty dramatic. I mean, I was like a little confused because I was like, wait, if Logan tested positive for COVID and he's been around all of these people, like,
that's what I thought.
I was like kind of confused. I was like, they just booted him, but did they test everyone else? Is everyone else okay? Like,
and then when Jesse talked about it with the men, he didn't even say, hey, you've been exposed to a COVID-19 positive person. He just said, we have a situation and Logan's going home.
I know, it's so weird.
I was shocked. I was like, what is the health protocol of this show?
I know.
Who knows what it is, but he's gone.
Good riddance.
Didn't think COVID was going to be the one that took him out, but
I know.
Okay.
I mean, maybe it was like karma. Like, he was just being so shitty to Rachel, and COVID was like, not today, bitch. So. Okay, well, anyways, so Gabby's evening portion of her group date gets canceled, which is a real bummer because it is the week before hometowns, and I think she really wanted to have that extra time with the guys to kind of decide who she wanted to take. But nonetheless, we moved on to Rachel's group date, which I'm hoping happened before the COVID-19 exposure, but I don't know. Anyways, Rachel's group date, they go into this town that's known as the cheese capital of the world, and they have a really cute, like, cheese lifting date.
That was kind of cute.
It was cute. I kind of liked it. I thought it was nice. They just all lifted cheese, and it was like kind of like a muscle competition, I guess. Yeah. Anyways, I mean, the two people who lifted cheese for the longest were Tino and Ethan. What I will say is I appreciated the Ethan content in this episode. I feel like he has been like really breezed over the whole season. I think it was like really cute and really funny. He was like talking about how he's lactose intolerant.
You know, might be feeling it a little later, but Rachel loves cheese, so therefore I love cheese.
I know. I love Ethan. Ethan is so great.
I hope he goes in Bachelor in Paradise. I think he was like cute and good vibes. So yeah, I hope so too. Anyways, Tino wins the cheese competition. They get to the evening portion of the date, and the group date rose actually ends up going to Tyler. So that is where the kind of drama starts. Tino gets very upset that he doesn't get the group date rose. He starts telling the camera, like, I was being so vulnerable. I did all of the right things. I earned that group date rose.
I don't get it. Like, I hit every point today, had the amazing moments.
Which was a really weird vibe. He kind of storms off after Rachel gives the rose to Tyler, and all the guys are like, what the heck is going on with Tino? And we start to see Tino basically start to spiral.
This is a joke. It really makes me wonder if I am not seeing things clearly.
It reminded me a lot of Eric's vibe on not getting the first impression rose of Gabby. Tino had that too, and they both have major front runner energy to me. Like, I genuinely believe, and I see it, she likes Tino above the rest. Rachel does, and I'm just starting to notice some really big red flags of his possessiveness. And my fear is because Rachel is so insecure and she's so desperate for validation, she will kind of be really attracted to that energy because he is so sure and intense about her connection, and she wants that. Right now, it just feels like Tino is giving her everything that she needs, even if it's kind of like boundary crossing a little bit. Like, for him to say that he earned the rose is kind of completely sidestepping her consent and her ability to choose who she wants to give the group rose to, and it's still her journey. She's not gonna, like, you know, so focus in on her maybe her top pick, she needs to give all of the men a chance. And
Right.
he's not really wanting her to do that at all. He's like, choose me, choose me, choose me, all the way to the very end.
I mean, he got the first impression rose. I think he got 2 different group date roses. So he's already gotten a lot of group date roses. So I don't know what he thinks. He's just going to continue getting all the roses from her. Like, she has to, you know, be able to
give the men another chance.
Give the other men a chance. It's the whole point of the show. To me, it was giving Greg Grippo. Remember Greg Grippo from Katie's season? We didn't cover Katie's season, but we were not fans of Greg. He was just being very manipulative and gaslighting toward Katie and making it seem like, you know, she was a bad person for not wanting to say I love you to him so early. And so to me, it feels like very similar to that. Tino is kind of getting mad at Rachel for not giving him the top prize every single week. He's insecure, he's jealous, that's what's happening, but he's turning it to be Rachel's fault, as if like, well, Rachel is supposed to be validating me, is supposed to be giving me like the roses every week. And he's like now I'm questioning her feelings, I'm questioning her relationship. So he's turning his own insecurities into Rachel's problem, into a problem with the relationship, when it's really just Tino's feeling jealous. He's just experiencing a normal human emotion, which is jealousy. But instead of acknowledging that it's his issue, he's turning it into an issue with Rachel and an issue with their relationship, which it's not. I mean, clearly we can all see that Rachel likes Tino a lot. And I think that, you know, him almost like getting mad at her about it, to me, that's given me, it's like a red flag. It's like Greg said something similar. It's like, if you don't say I love you to me, it makes me question if I love you. It's like, if your love is contingent on reciprocity, then it's not love, right? If your feelings are contingent on them showering you with adoration, then that's not love. You know, love is just something you give freely. It doesn't have to be reciprocated.
Unfortunately, because of what happened with Clayton, she was very insecure. So she does need a partner that is very secure, and I would want her to be with a person, it's like for them to experience a certain level of compersion, when you feel kind of happy that they're getting attention, positive attention, because you saw how much they were struggling.
Right,
for Tino
exactly.
to kind of play into that like insecurity and vulnerability that Rachel had, it just makes you feel like, oh my gosh, this is a very combustible energy. It's insecure meeting insecure. It's a high and low, high drama relationship. She needs to be with someone steady, really steady, and really happy for her journey, to be like, oh my god, look, it's kind of turning around. She's getting all of these guys that are really showing that they really like her, and I like her a lot too. Great. I hope that my connection with her kind of supersedes the rest, but they're not going to make her, you know, feel bad for getting to have the season that she desperately wants to have and that she's entitled to have.
Yeah, I agree with what you're saying. I think that when you sign up to be on this show, on The Bachelorette, on The Bachelor, you are signing up to date someone who is dating multiple people, right? That's the whole premise of the show. And so every time I see one of these guys or one of these people like get upset that the lead has deep connections with multiple people, I mean, obviously this is kind of part of the drama of the setup of the show. This is part of why the show does so well, is because there is this conflict every season with Clayton saying I love you to 3 people and Susie being upset about him sleeping with other people, and, you know, Greg Grippo being mad that Katie likes other guys. I mean, it happens so consistently from season to season. But every time I'm just like, y'all, you know what this show is about. Why are you getting shocked or upset or mad? How can you not know by this point that this is what is going to happen? Like, Rachel needs to explore all of her options. If she gives all of her roses to Tino, all of the other guys will just lose hope, right? Like, even if Tino really is her front runner, like, if she just gives all her group date roses to Tino, all of the other guys are eventually going to just be like, why am I even here? What's the point of me doing this if Tino just keeps getting all the roses? She clearly likes Tino the best. And so if not compersion, then at least having that logical understanding that Rachel would literally ruin the season and ruin her own experience, her own ability to be able to see this process through to the end if she only gave her roses to Tino. Just understanding that, I feel like, would help relieve at least a little bit of the insecurities that Tino seems to be feeling. But I think that you're so right that it is just becoming clear that this possessive energy that Tino has is definitely not going to be something that is compatible with the insecurity that Rachel has, right? Two people with an anxious attachment style, right? That's not going to go well for those two people, right? And I agree with you that I actually think that Rachel, unfortunately, will like this. Like, she's going to be like, oh my gosh, Tino is so into me that he gets jealous. It makes me so happy. But it's like, that's a toxic quality, right? Possessiveness is not healthy. And so it's not something to be, oh my gosh, like, you know, all like fluttery about. But I worry that she will, because she's just so, you know, wounded from not only her experience with Clayton, but also just these last 5 weeks of getting rejected by so many guys. So yeah, I am really concerned that she's gonna continue holding tighter to Tino as he displays all of these qualities, unfortunately, even though in theory these qualities should be things that make you run the opposite direction, you know?
Exactly. You're so right about that. Oof, Rachel is so vulnerable that I don't think all of her red flags look like green flags to her right now. Like, Tino is giving her what she really wants. He's way too extreme in it. But because of the rejections, people not accepting her roses, her getting her roses taken away, people switching off to Gabby's side, there is a part of Rachel that is like, choose me. Even if you're holding on so tight, I can't breathe. She doesn't even know. It's not good.
Yeah, you're so right. Let us know down below what you all think about Tino. He's kind of giving a little bit of a villain arc right now, or he's getting a bit of a villain arc right now, so we'll see if that truly does pan out in that way. But let us know what you all think. I mean, part of me feels, I'm just gonna say it, I feel a little validated because, you know, Julie, you and I were not Tino fans in the beginning. We didn't have a reason, but now I'm like, okay, yes, we have a reason to not like Tino.
I think you're really good at seeing all of these like red flags in men that some people, if they kind of fall for the farce of the fairy tale, would be super attracted to. Like, oh my God, it's so wonderful when a person just knows exactly what they want. But it's not good when the other person doesn't feel like they're getting a choice in it, or it just feels so overwhelming that they're just kind of like being sucked away by this pheromonal haze of like, I'm being chosen. I don't think they're just really making conscious, healthy choices because they're so insecure. And when you're dating from that place of limitation, Tino does look like a knight in like white shining armor, you know, and that's not what he is.
Definitely. I mean, it's the environment, right? This is like, it's like they created this environment that is so toxic for them, for these girls. I mean, for Gabby and Rachel, they created this environment where they are just being like battered, and they're like, okay, go find love. Go find love. Like, you know, it's like just not the right environment for these girls to be able to find healthy love or form healthy connections. And that's why guys like Tino, like you're saying, kind of rise to the surface. It's because, you know, these girls have been tortured into this like very insecure state, and it makes guys like Tino look very appealing. So, Lordy. Yeah, so let us know what you all think about Tino. Like, have your thoughts about him changed in the last episode? Are more people kind of seeing it the way we see it? I don't know. I was worried that we were being too like harsh on Tino the last couple episodes, but now I feel a little bit better about it. So I'm curious to hear what other people think.
Please don't give us hate comment, guys, okay? We're just talking about these relationship stuff, okay? We're just noticing some things. That's it. That's it.
We're just calling it like it is, okay?
Yeah. So. Kelly. Everyone just like... the Tino fans are going to come after us, but it's okay because like we did call it with Nate and Michelle, so...
That was so shady, but I kind of loved it.
We did call it with him. Yeah.
So after that group date, we get to our rose ceremony. The rose ceremony is pretty straightforward. They don't even have a cocktail party, right? They just kind of go right into the rose ceremony and
straight into it.
The long and short of it is Gabby sends home Spencer, Rachel sends home Ethan, and we are left with our top four, or actually top three. So Rachel has 4 guys left going into hometowns, which is per the usual, and Gabby is taking just 3 guys into hometowns, which is not the usual, and I'll be curious to see if she's forced to send one of the guys home next week, but she's going into hometowns with just 3 guys, and so we officially have our top 4/top 3 for both bachelorettes. Gabby's top 3, she only has 3 guys going into hometowns, are Eric, Jason, and Johnny. Rachel's top 4 are Tino, Tyler, Aven, and Zach. So we have a lot of thoughts about these top 4, top 3 guys. We're gonna actually do a separate second video about them, just analyzing each Bachelorette's top 4, top 3, and talk about which connections we think are the strongest. So that will come out in a couple of days, but you guys let us know down below, who are you most excited about of these women's top 3 and top 4? Who do you think Gabby should end up with? Who do you think Rachel should end up with? And also, who do you think that they will end up with, regardless of who you think you like the best? Let us know down below, and stay tuned for our next video, which we will get into all of that in a lot of detail. In the meantime, go watch our Logan video next. We had so many thoughts about the way Logan treated Rachel and how he did the switcheroo. So go click on this video and watch that one next, and we will talk to you all very soon.
Bye.
Bye.